GSPL. Both of them gained close to about 2% after the revised gas pipeline tariff norms came into effect. Sonal is here standing by to tell us what changed and what are the implications for these pipeline operator companies. Sonal?
Thanks a lot for that. Well, yes, these pipeline tariffs, it's positive for the likes of GAIL and GSPL, which are the operators of gas pipelines in the country. To tell you what the news is, PNGRB has notified these natural gas pipeline tariff, and this is applicable with effect from 18 November 2022. While there are a lot of changes, I'm just highlighting the important ones here. The first is that there is discontinuation of proposal to share 50% of the proposed incremental tariff revenues, and because of this, earlier, these pipelines were not going ahead with expansion plans, but now that they don't have to share this revenue, MK says that this is positive for brownfield network capacity expansion. The second one is that transmission loss is now being considered versus earlier, where there's no provision to consider any gas which was lost in transmission, and MK says this would be positive for GSPL to the tune of 3% on its tariff, and they could account for losses right now in their PNL as well. There is a gradual annual escalation in tariff which is allowed now. Earlier it would happen with a break of around 3 to 4 years. There would be a lump sum hike in tariffs, but now it has been recommended that it will happen every year basis some formula. MK says that PNGRB wants entities to earn a reasonable rate of return, and their channel checks indicate that yes, pipeline operators are actually happy with the changes that have been announced. This will pave way for future expansion in the pipeline infrastructure. Unified tariff is also likely to be implemented from 1st April 2023, which is another positive for the likes of GAIL and GSPL. Citi says that new pipeline tariffs have positive implications for tariffs of GSPL and GAIL. Tariff policy favors GSPL more because that has been an overhang for the company. Introduction of integrated tariffs is positive for GAIL. GAIL, however, faces some earnings headwinds in the other three businesses which are commoditized, the marketing, LPG and petchem business. On the back of this, they have upgraded GAIL to a neutral from a sell, target raised to 90 rupees per share. However, they maintain their buy rating on GSPL with a target price of 335 rupees per share.
Sonal, thank you very much for those details. The fifth headline for the day, Dr. Reddys has been named as a defendant in an antitrust complaint filed in the US court. The complaint alleges that these companies restrain competition and maintain monopoly. Despite this, you actually saw the stock end in the green with a gain of close to about 0.3%, possibly because this was already factored in as a possible litigation when Natco was sued for Revlimid generic, the cancer drug. Ekta standing by with the details. Ekta.
Well, yes, the news is on another litigation with regards to the blockbuster cancer drug Revlimid generic, which went off patent earlier this year. Just to put the news into context, Natco as well as a bunch of other pharma companies such as Dr. Reddys, Cipla had settled with the innovator Bristol Myers Squibb and Celgene to launch the generic version in March of 2022 in a staggered manner through the year and sell only limited volumes up till Jan of 2026. Now, earlier this month already, we did see the likes of pharma distributor Walgreens file an antitrust lawsuit against Natco with its partner Teva, which were the first companies to launch the generic version in March of 2022 with exclusivity, along with Bristol Myers Squibb on this particular anti-competitive nature which Walgreens is basically litigating against. Now, at that point, Dr. Reddys had corrected significantly because the street was assuming that Dr. Reddys, along with the other generic companies, could also possibly see litigations going forward. And that's particularly the news that has happened. There is a fresh litigation against Dr. Reddys, along with innovator Celgene and BMS and other generic companies, which have been named defendants in a complaint filed on November 18th. The complaint is on behalf of indirect purchasers, and they are seeking damages. The main point of contention in this particular agreement is basically the agreement with BMS and the generic companies improperly delayed generic competition until 2022 and limited competition until 2026. Remember that Dr. Reddys had launched all of the versions of this particular Revlimid generic in September 2022, and they had exclusivity on 2 strengths. So the street is now going to watch what the litigation outcome could be. There could be possible settlements which could take place, which could be a monetary compensation, and hence the street has probably factored it in simply when Natco had already released a statement indicating that they were one of the first to in fact be litigated against when it came to Revlimid generic.
Ekta, thank you very much for all those details. Moving on, Keynes Technology has made a strong debut on the bourses today. The company listed at a premium of 32% and finally closed with gains of 18%. We had a chat with the management earlier today. They said that medical electronics is a focus area for the company as it is a margin accretive business. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Markets Today. Thank you for watching.